Hey, this is Mark from Mark Kelly Farms, and I approve of this message. So do those cows. Hey, before we get started with this video, we'd like to welcome our subscribers this week. We got Mac Dog, Unwrap a Smile, Shanika Smith, Ralph Thomas, and Dreamweaver's Haven. They say they're previously from Nebraska, so we welcome them back. So let's get on with it. Good morning, folks. Welcome back to the farm. It's a nice cool afternoon out here in central Nebraska, and we got some treats. I got enough strawberries today to share with Kelly. Pretty nice. Well, now that we got the strawberries picked, let's show you a little bit what we've been doing this week. Beautiful out here. Everything's still nice and green. They've been irrigating quite a bit. You can hear the pivots running in the background. We're going to come over here and look at Kelly's sunflowers. I think they're heading out. I think I'm going to go ahead and bush hog this area down. I think all these weeds have got any wildflowers I've planted pretty well choked out. Got some purple looking flowers in here and some white ones. Maybe I'll wait a little while. There's some other wildflowers down here. So maybe I'll wait, let those seeds come out of those, and then bush hog it down. Looks like we got a few going on. But look at our sunflowers up there, really starting to head out. And the zinnias are still looking good. Lots of zinnias. Look at those big pretty sunflowers. Got quite a few of them coming on. Should be a lot more here pretty soon. Kind of a mixed variety. So they'll all be different heights. The bees are really active today. There's lots of flowers for them right now. Lots of wildflowers. So they're doing real good. They're almost out of room in these boxes. We may have to stack some more, another box, or get some of them frames out of there, harvest some of that honey, and put some empty frames back in there to give them a little more room. But there's lots of flowers right now for them to go after. Our apples out here, they're looking real good, but they're still really tart. They are not ready on either one of these trees. The greener apple down there on the bigger tree is really tart, so I think we got a ways to go on these. The stump guy still hasn't been here. The corn is some of it's ready, some of it's not. You know your corn's ready when your tassel is brown and still pliable but not completely dry. And that's when your corn is at its best. And you'll see that your ears have bulked up a little bit in size. But some of this is ready and some of it is not. Like that ear there is not ready. So we'll probably come through here and do a selective harvest. Get the stuff that's ready before the raccoons come out here and find it. And we'll get that stuff in the freezer. But I've been real happy with this stand of corn. It got hit really hard with the wind one weekend, and a lot of it went down. But Even though some of it went down, it curled right back up and reached for the sky, and the ears are still good on even those down stalks. So real pleased with that. This is the peaches and cream variety, and they're pretty much coming together right now. Like I said, my neighbor came by. He's got about an acre of this stuff and said I could come pick as much as I want too. So I didn't know there was going to be that much available. Otherwise, I might have left it out of the garden. We have been doing lots and lots of harvesting. So I've been pulling these stakes up as we've harvested. I've been rolling up some of the drip tape too for the rows that are completely out. So I'll be bringing the rototiller in here and getting some of that stuff taken care of. Brandy's on the hunt over there. She got her a rabbit the other day. What do you find, Brandy? Anything exciting over there? These rutabagas here on this end, they're ready for harvest. Those will be the next thing coming out. You see we got a little bug damage on the leaves, but they still grew just fine. And this is a purple top rutabaga. It's called an American purple top. Unlike some of the red or the orange ones that you see. But they did really good. But we've harvested so much stuff. And I'll show you the pictures of it. We've got turnips and carrots and so much squash. Pretty crazy. And we're getting ready to do potatoes and snap peas and crazy amounts of cucumbers. It's been nuts. So in my determinate tomatoes over here, this variety called Bush Cherry here on the end was the first to start ripening. We've got a lot of blight on the bottom of these plants because of a heavy rain that we got. The bacteria splashes up from the ground and gets on those lower leaves, and then it just spreads. I'm not happy with this Bush Cherry variety. It's very acidic. So I may be pulling these up because I'm just not going to harvest them if I don't care for them. So these may come out, and plus it'll get rid of all this, maybe keep some of this blight from spreading around the rest of the garden. Now the next ones in the row are the San Marzanos, and I'm real happy we got a good fruit set on these San Marzanos because these are the ones I want to can up. But they've come on really well. Now the next one down the row here is the Mariglobe. And look at this thing. Just chock full of tomatoes. So this is going to be more of a round fruit type tomato where you don't have a lot of the cracks and crevices in the top of the tomato. So if this tomato is a good performer, this one will be back in the garden next year. The next variety down the line is the Rutgers variety. They're kind of a smooth, round, fruited tomato also. They've got a pretty good set. Quite a few fruit you can see in there. Lots of them hidden. But they're setting some good fruit too. I've never tasted this variety. I've tasted one of the Mariglobes already. They're pretty tasty. But I don't like a real high acid tomato. I like them a little bit sweeter. So if you didn't know, if you didn't hear our last videos, we're doing kind of a test plot with these tomatoes out here this year because one, I'm not aware of what's going to grow well for me here in middle Nebraska because I've never had a garden here. And two, I want to see what I like. Not only does it grow well, but does it taste good and does it hold up well and all that. So that's why we planted so many tomatoes. I think we got 72 tomato plants out here and 19 different varieties. So let's keep checking them out. So you can see as we go down the line, we get to this next variety and boom, look at that. They just took off and they're probably 5 feet tall. And that's really good for a determinate tomato. However, this is a celebrity. And I was told by the previous owner this was his favorite tomato here. And I don't know if it because it grew well or because he liked the flavor. I didn't have him elaborate. But it's got a really nice fruit set too. Those vines are just absolutely full of tomatoes. and they're doing really well. They're semi-determinate is why you're going to see they're a little bit taller. So they're kind of halfway in between. But look at those beauties. And there's a good bunch of them in there. And then right on the end, we lost a tomato down here, so I threw in an early girl right on the end. And there's only a couple little fruit on that, but they were planted later, so they're not as advanced as these other ones. But these celebrities, look out, man. Looks like we got another batch of jalapenos to pick. We were just in here the other day and picked a bunch of them. We did a video on processing them. But got another round to pick, and it looks like we got some bell peppers down there too. We'll go take a look at those. These beans here in this row are a dry shelling bean. Previous owner called them a Swedish brown bean. But we'll be shelling these out for dry beans. They've already made pods. We're just waiting for them to, the pods to bulk up a little bit and start drying out. And then what we'll do is we'll just come up here and pull up the whole plant and pick the pods off of it. And then we'll do a video on how to shell those pods out. So look at our bell peppers there. Got quite a few. There's like a purple colored one. More green ones over here. Nice pretty green ones on here. Like a yellow one there. These were called rainbow bell. So there's all different varieties in here in these peppers. The beans have grown all the way over in here into the peppers, but there's another purple. So we'll be harvesting some of these as we need them. Look at this, folks. The squash and the melons just blew up and completely overtook this side of the garden over here. They were clear into the tomatoes, all the way through the tomatoes, and joining up with the green beans on the other side. We came through here and did some pruning the other day. I did some tomato pruning and I pruned these squash plants back. But down there in the row, you can see those butternut squash down there, real good. And then there's some watermelons coming along in here. These are the Crimson Sweet variety. It's my favorite. But I dug through here yesterday. There's some beautiful acorn squash in there too. I've yet to find any of the Crenshaw melons, so I need to dig around and try to find some of those. According to the harvest date, we're not quite there yet, but you never can tell with those. So look at these tomatoes, folks. I'm going to dig in here and see what variety these are on this end. Well, these down here, I found the tag. These are Better Boys. And I am so pleased that these Better Boys are doing really well. I mean, look at this. It's loaded in here. Because I really love the shape and the size of the Better Boys. Really nice big tomatoes. And they're smooth and they taste so good. If you've never tried a Better Boy tomato, I recommend them. Give them a shot. And I'm so pleased that they're doing well here, because out in California my Better Boy tomatoes did horribly. You can see my Blue Lake pole beans here. They've reached the top of their trellising system that we set up for them. But they're starting to get beans on them. We're going to have 1 million beans out of here. You can see the little beans there. But we got some bigger ones down here we can start sticking down on the bottom. We're going to have green beans for dinner here real quick, like tomorrow. So let's go check out the next variety of tomatoes down the line here. Alright, the next variety down the line here is a mortgage lifter. I don't see any mortgages being lifted by these plants here. There are some on here, but some of the other varieties are doing much better. And you can see these tomatoes got the rough tops on them, the cracks and the crevices on the top. I'm not big fans of those because they're hard to slice for slicers, because you lose a lot with these the weird tops on them. I like a smooth tomato. But if it's big enough, I mean, you'll get, you know, a few slices out of the middle. I've never tasted the mortgage lifters, so we're going to be tasting those. So let's move on down the line. And this should be the end of the mortgage lifters here. Let's see what this next variety is. I'll go in and get a tag. All right, this is a beefsteak. Look at that beautiful tomato. Got a little divot there because of that stem, but look at the size of that. That's going to be a pretty nice tomato. But these are all beefsteaks. The next in the line here. They don't seem to be as prolific as some of the other varieties, but they have set some tomatoes. Here's some of those butternut squash we were talking about. Look at the size of that one. That one's as big as my foot, or bigger. So I got a size 13 shoe. Look at the size of that. It's insane. But see a lot of butternut squash in here. There's supposed to be Crenshaw melons in this area. I'm wondering if they've cross-pollinated with the butternut squash. And I'm going to get a mix over here. Because this is supposed to be Crenshaw on this side. And they're all looking like butternut squash. But just insane how much these grew. I'm definitely going to have to space these out and do like a double spacing on these melons and squash next year, because this is just crazy. So let's continue down the line of tomatoes. So you can see the height difference, and that'll usually tell you where the varieties stop and start. So this should be the next variety here. And I can tell you already, those are going to be Cherokee Purple, because the leaves look a little different. See how big they are? Big crazy leaves compared to, say, this here on a regular tomato. And then this here. So these are the Cherokee Purples. So I see a few fruit here and there. Not crazy bunch of fruit, but they're on here, so we'll at least get a flavor or taste of them. There's a nice little bundle there, but at least they're growing. Now the next one, I won't even have to look at the tag, because these are cherries, and the only indeterminate cherry I planted was a Sweet 100. So that's what these are. And I've already been eating these. I've had these before. They're super sweet. They're much better than the bush cherry. Oh. Now that's what a cherry tomato should taste like. Nice and sweet. Very, very good. I highly recommend the Sweet 100. And we're going to have not hundreds, but thousands of these tomatoes. Cherry tomatoes have always done really well for me. They probably do for everybody else too. But I see another one down there I want to eat. And a few more over there too. So I want to take a break and eat some tomatoes. Alright, I'm done. Here's the back side of the corn. So you can see, like I said, there's some of them in here we need to come through and pick. Like this one and this one. But this one needs a little more time. So let's get on the next variety of tomatoes here. I can see the tag. This is a Jubilee tomato. And I think we need to go to the other side so we can see these. Because as you can see, until I pick this corn, we've got quite a crowd right here. So the Jubilee's got, there's a few tomatoes in here. They're probably going to set some more because we got flowers in there, here and there. But not crazy prolific. But there are some fruit, and they look like they're kind of a halfway between the real rough top and the smooth top. So I've never tasted a Jubilee tomato either, so we'll see on those. Let's check out what else we got down here. So this variety is a Garden Leader Monster. So there's some tomatoes there. Got a few around. Again, not loaded, but there's definitely fruit. And you can see these are tall as the corn. And I didn't do any tying on this trellis. All we did was, when the tomatoes get towards the top, we'll just take and like tuck this under like that. It's not really tall enough to do it yet, but you get the idea. And it just kind of weaves up through there. So you're not out here tying like crazy. Now anything that grows out all weird in the row, I'll just clip that off. You can see I've done some tomato pruning out here. I tell you what, zucchini are excellent at playing hide and seek. This one got away from me. It's a little bigger than I like them, but definitely still usable. But man, they're really good at hiding. Our pear tree still looking good. It's very minimal water over here, so I'm really pleased with it. It's really a hardy tree, unlike our peach over here that just died on us about as soon as we planted it. This rhubarb down here is just die hard. I've been mowing it over, but it just wants to grow, wants to grow. Still haven't dug that up and moved it yet. Our wild cherry over here, my wife Kelly keeps correcting me every time I try to call it a wild plum. But I guess it's a wild cherry. So we've got the weeds all taken down around it. This was one straight up stalk. So you can see where we trim that off. And now it's going to get secondary branches on it and create a tree. And that's how you do that. So once this is a nice established tree, we'll start shaping it and forming it. And it'll be a pretty little tree. But you can see this wild cherry like grows up from the roots too. So you'll see all these other plants that are wanting to come up. But we just run the mower around here when we mow. And then I've weed sprayed around the bottom of that so I can mow up close enough. And then I had this cage on there just so we knew where it was. So I can lose the cage now. Let's go check out these grapes full of weeds. They get nice and plump. Lots of grapes in there. All over the place. Check this next variety out. I think this is the red Swenson. And there's some grapes in there. They're a little more hidden in the Concord grapes hide a little bit better. Or these hide a little bit better than the Concord grapes. And then even got some down on here on the plant that we thought was dead. You can see there's grapes in there too. We'll see how they do. We've got a really big snake out here in the garden somewhere. I found a snake skin out here the other day that was about 5 feet long. So let's go look at the greenhouse real quick. Our two wicking tubs here. This one looks like I need to give a little water. We got a little curl going on the leaves on that tomato. But they're doing good. They're both setting little tiny fruits. The fan's on in the greenhouse, so we'll take a quick look. See, we got tomatoes on that one. Tomatoes on that one. Tomatoes on that one. And not yet any tomatoes on this one. But they're doing fine. It's 90 degrees in here today, even though it's only about 70 outside. Now, anytime you're growing in pots, it's a good idea to keep a tray or dish underneath them to catch the water. And I actually water from those trays. I don't water in the top of the plant. I keep those trays full. I have to fill these trays every other day. So tomorrow they'll be fine, and then the next day I'll have to water them. But if you just water pots and there's drain holes in the bottom of those pots and you don't have a tray underneath, that water runs out really fast. So if you've ever gardened in pots, or if you have pots going right now and you don't have trays underneath them, I want you to do a little test. Water your pot and then wait maybe a half hour or so, and then go out there and run your fingers down in that pot, and you'll see that the dirt stays dry, the soil stays dry in those pots, and a lot of time the water just runs down the outside of the dirt along the inside of the pot and just runs right out the bottom. And that's not what you want. People are always asking, what's wrong with my potted plants? How come they're not growing, or how come they're turning brown? Well, they're not retaining any moisture at all. So like those ones in the greenhouse, I got those trays underneath. I got to water those every other day. However, these wick tubs out here, I'm only watering these like once a week. And yeah, you can see some curl on these leaves back here, but like the leaves in the front, they're not curled at all. I don't know if I've maybe pinched that stem in the back or something when I pulled it up the other day maybe, but all these other leaves look fine, just these ones in the back. So maybe that stem got pinched. I might have to just cut that one off and let the rest of that go, but the other plant's just fine. And like I said, these are only watered once a week. So you saw the weed spray in the driveway, one of the last few videos. The weed spray worked really well, really knocked it down. And even though I let it get away a little bit on our trips and all the stuff that was going on, we've got it killed right back down. Now I can go through and just spot spray, which will take all of about 10 minutes. You can see we may have some new growth out here just in a couple spots, and that'll be easy to hit real quick. Let's go check out the herb pot. I haven't been over here in a couple of days, but I know I probably need to cut some more. Stuff I cut last time's already dried and stored. It looks like we got lots of basil, and it's starting to flower, so I need to get that cut down. Our oregano is flowering. Parsley is not. The chives are still doing pretty good. The sage is in here, over here on the right side. It's not bolting yet. But the cilantro is all the way down to seeds. So these little cilantro or coriander seeds. But we'll get out here and cut this basil. I don't want it to go away yet because my tomatoes aren't quite here. But we can always use dried basil in the tomatoes. And I'm chomping at the bit to get this grain bin project going. You got to let your money catch up with your projects, and that's what we're doing. We've got so much else going on right now, but I'd love to get this thing started. We got to get concrete poured on the inside and all the posts set. Well, that's pretty much the garden tour for this week, folks. Like I said, we've been harvesting and canning like crazy. So you got to set your priorities this time of year. Sometimes your garden's going to get away from you a little bit, but we've got those drip tapes pulled out of there. We're going to get the rototiller in there and go up and down those rows, and that'll at least keep those weeds from going to seed. And we're going to continue to harvest. We got corn to freeze, like I said, rutabagas to harvest, and green beans. I see tonight they're ready to start picking. So our work's cut out for us, and we may only do like bi-weekly garden tours. If you've noticed, it's been about 2 weeks since we've done one, so it may be another 2 weeks with as much as we got going on. But stay safe, stay healthy. Hope you come back and see us here at Mark Kelly Farms. We love you guys. Bye-bye.